Good evening. Tonight we're having technical difficulties with the live stream. We are being recorded and it will be put onto the website tomorrow. Thank you for your patience. I would like to now welcome everybody to the June 13th Committee of the Whole meeting. Members of the public have been provided with the following methods to watch and or participate in this open meeting. Attend the township office located at 2958 Greenfield Road, Dumplings Room. Watch the live stream tomorrow by accessing the meeting on the township YouTube page. Attend electronically to observe the meeting tomorrow or to speak to an item on the agenda. To attend electronically, members of the public must have registered with the Clerk's Division in advance. And fourthly, submit written comments to the Clerk's Division that have been provided to the Mayor and Council prior to the meeting and will form part of the public record. I'd now like to call the meeting to order, and can I have approval of the agenda, please?
Madam Mayor, moved by myself, second by Councilor Ostner, that council adopt the June 13th, 2022 Committee of the Whole agenda as presented with the following addendum. Item I, number 1, at item 7.2, report number P 25-2022, draft plan condominium for Riverstone Limited, Northumberland Street and Greenfield Road, file number 30 CDM-21305. Item 2, at item 9.6, report number CAO 23-2022, consideration of township delegation annual conference 2022. 3, add communication relating to item 7.1, report number PD 24-2022, approval of the development agreement for 2194 Dumfries Road, files numbers B-0521 and B-0621. And number 4, add communication related to item 10.1, report number PD 23-2022, minor variance application for 246 Piper Street, file number A-04-2022. And that if required, council rearrange the agenda to address item 10, committee of adjustment at 7 p.m. and then reconvene the remainder of the council agenda items following committee of adjustment.
All those in favor? Councilor Ostner, you're not. Can you turn your picture on, please, so I can see the raise your hand? Your video is not on.
Sorry.
That's carried. Thank you. I would like to now state the Indigenous acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the land on which we reside today we gather today is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and neutral people. We acknowledge the enduring presence of the Indigenous people with whom we share this land today, their achievements and their contributions to our community. We offer this acknowledgement as an act of reconciliation between Indigenous and non-Indigenous people of Canada. And now I'd like us all to pause and reflect. Reflect on what's happened in the past and how shocking it's been. Reflect on learning today and trying to make things better so that in the future we can move together as a stronger Canada. Thank you. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest in general nature thereof? Seeing none, meeting on adjourned, council and cities committee of the whole. Can I have a motion, please?
Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Roland, that council adjourn to sit as committee of the whole.
All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Finance function area, and to ask members of the public would like to speak on any of the financial functions, and if so, please follow which items to remove from the consent agenda. I see none. Can I have the motion, please? Councilor Rossi.
Moved by myself, second by Councilor Rollman, that the committee of the whole recommend the following item be approved as presented as outlined in the staff reports listed in the finance function area. 6.1, report number FIN 20-22, 2022, creation of a new discretionary reserve fund that FIN report number 2022 be received, and that staff be authorized to create a new discretionary reserve fund for the purpose of constructing the twin pad at the North Dumfries Community Complex, or to support minor sports programs if the twin pad project does not proceed forward. And that staff be directed to transfer all donations received by the township in memory of Warren Benson to the newly established discretionary reserve fund.
All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Under developmental services function areas, will the member of public wish to pull any reports? Seeing none at this time. Can I have the motion, please?
Moving myself, that Councilor Creary, that committee of the whole recommend the following item be approved as follows.
You don't have to read page 2. You can just approve as a kind of the 2 pages.
Oh. So moved by myself, by Councilor Creary, that the committee of the whole recommend the following items be approved as presented, as outlined in staff reports in the development service function area 7.1, report number PD 24-2022. Approval of development agreement for 2194 Dumfries Road, file numbers B-0521 and B-0621. And 7.2, report number PD -25-2022, draft plan condominium for Riverstone Limited or Bowman Street and Greenfield Road, file number 30 CDM-2105.
All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We're now onto the community services function area. There will be 2 speakers tonight for 8.1 and 8.2. Any questions by report by council for any of the other items? Seeing none, how do you want to do this? Do you want to do the whole thing, motion, or let's hear the presentations first, and then we will deal with the motion. So Ashley, get ready for the Leisure Master Plan presentation, please.
Am I okay to begin?
Yes, please.
Oh, perfect. Can you see my presentation, everyone?
Yes, thank you.
All right, perfect. Good evening, Mayor, councilors, staff, and the public. We last met with you in May to present the draft Leisure Services Master Plan, and we're now coming back to you with our final approval and it to be adopted as a guiding document. So as a reminder, the Leisure Services Master Plan will provide the Township of North Dumfries with a guide for parks, recreation, and cultural opportunities over the next 10 years. In terms of the projects, we presented the draft master plan to the Committee of the Whole in the beginning of May. And from there, the draft master plan was posted online and hard copies were made available at public facilities for the public to review and provide their feedback. Staff also promoted the feedback process online and through print. And the feedback period was ongoing between May 3rd and May 20th. A meeting was held with township staff on May 26th to receive additional feedback from staff, to review public comments, as well as to discuss revisions to the draft master plan. Overall, there was positive comments, positive response to the draft master plan from council, from staff, and from the public, and all the input was considered, and the master plan was revised accordingly. We've taken the input back, and now we have 88 recommendations in the master plan. And tonight we will be focusing on key changes that have been made to the document. In terms of what we heard from the public, we received 19 comments that expressed their support for constructing a second ice pad at the North Dumfries Community Complex. repurposing the Air Community Center to support other indoor leisure needs. Public appreciated that the master plan considered non-arena facilities and activities such as disc golf, volleyball, pump track, skateboarding, and enhancements to Schmidt Park. And they also appreciated exploring public water access and expanding trail opportunities. So the next two slides summarizes key modifications that were made to the master plan and to existing recommendations. And the changes that were made are really highlighted in the bold text on the slides. So we've updated the parkland inventory to include Ice House Park, and we've added language to recognize the fact that the separate process is being undertaken to determine the future use of the site. Working with regional indoor pool providers to maintain access to aquatic opportunities, such as providing financial supports towards existing pool operations and negotiating registration slots for North Dumfries residents. Install outdoor fitness equipment at strategic locations, including Cowan Park, Roseville Community Center, Schmidt Park, Douglas Park, and Browns Park. Oops, sorry. Pursue the development of an asphalt pump track at Schmidt Park, subject to securing external funding or a partnership opportunity. The provision of future off-leash dog parks should consider supporting amenities such as shade, seating, water, landscaping, and other comfort features, and initiate a site selection process to establish appropriate locations along the Nith River and Grand River for casual viewing and enjoyment, including opportunities to launch personal non-motorized watercrafts. So those were the main modifications that were made to the master plan. So I'd like to turn it back over to you, Mayor, for any questions that you may have.
Councillors, is there any question? Seeing none, can I have the motion, please?
Mr. Bellamy would like to speak.
Mr. Bellamy, did you want to speak? Go ahead, please, would you come up to the podium?
I did have a PowerPoint. Sure.
She's been.
I got, oh, so I got a share screen. Yes, okay. So again, my name is Jared Bellamy with the Air Skate Park Committee, wanting to speak specifically to the Air Pump Track project, as mentioned in the Leisure Services Master Plan. There you go. So one thing right off the bat, I want to clarify, it's mentioned in a number of places that this is a BMX pump track. It's definitely not only a BMX pump track. It's an all-wheels facility, you know, that's going to accommodate scooters, skateboards, inline skates, bicycles of all nature, potentially even wheelchairs. All wheels exactly would be accommodated by such a facility, catering to a large range of users. So as we just heard, that the master plan is recommending the support of the proposed pump track facility, contingent upon securing external funding through grants and willing partners. So our committee is this willing partner. We are an experienced committee, and we have a successful history, you know, from the skate park project that has been a huge success in the town. And this same committee has been advocating for the pump track since 2019. So we are wanting to make this a reality, and I'm happy to see that it's been supported through the Leisure Services Master Plan report. There you go. A couple of highlights from the master plan. So 15% of the community is stating that they are using the skate park. It's awesome. The pump track is the third most requested activity. 64% of people state that the outdoor recreation spaces are very important to their households, and only 39% are satisfied with the outdoor recreation spaces. So something like the pump track would improve these numbers. So and then with regards specifically to the pump track in support of additional spending, 42% in support and 26%, only 26% oppose. So tonight I'm asking council to speak specifically to this, that to have the pump track project considered as a short-term deliverable and work through the details of having that included in the 2023 budget. So I previously presented a couple of times to council detailing the impact, the demand, and a business plan for this proposed project. There's even documents drafted by township staff showing layouts of Schmidt Park with a location held for this facility. Their skate park committee is ready and willing to begin. We want to see this project come to life. We just need to get it officialized. Really all I have tonight. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Jared. Any questions for Jared? Can you close the presentation, please?
Yes, sure.
Councilor Roman.
Madam Mayor, through you to Jared. Jared, the other thing I thought interesting with this leisure services master plan was on page 67, 58, where it talks about small scale skateboard parks throughout the township, such as in Roseville, Brampton, or Clyde. I'm wondering what sort of buy-in or cooperation can we expect from the skateboard committee with those specific skateboard parks? And know that the pump track is your sort of pet project, but we also have to think about, continuing building skateboard parks throughout the township. So would we be able to work with your group to further that goal as well?
Yeah, I would say so. I was excited to see that there was interest in bringing more of these facilities. I knew I had limited time to speak tonight, so I didn't want to touch too much on that. But as far as our committee and those involved with experience, would definitely be interested in helping and advising and seeing where we can go with these options. So yeah, I would say we would be happy to be involved and see, we have to look at budgets and all that and see how that would work out. But yeah, it's exciting to see that there is a demand to want to be able to offer this in all of the sort of the communities within the township. Yeah.
Councilor Roman, go ahead.
So thank you, Madam Mayor. So Jared, just to follow up, do you think that, what do you think in terms of timing makes more sense? Does it make more sense to build sort of small scale skateboard parks throughout the township and then a pump track? Or are you thinking a pump track first and then the small scale? What's the best way, in your opinion, to roll this out?
Well, I mean, we have the one large skate park that was designed to cater to the entire township. So sure, Clyde, Brampton don't have their own skate park, but this was a large, major skate park project with the intent from the beginning was that it would cater to all of these communities and that they were closer. You have to go all the way to Kitchener or wherever. So as far as amenities, I think we need to focus that the large population is within air, and these facilities need to maximize utilization by being close to the core of the population so that people can walk, drive, kids can go without parental support. So that is going to maximize utilization when you're in the core of the populated area. So my suggestion would be is pursue the pump track. Then we have our wide range of facilities accounted for, skate park, pump track, and then consider branching out to the smaller communities as well.
Thank you very much, Jared. And this will be probably discussed at our August meeting when we hold the 10-year capital forecast again. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now have the motion, please.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Ossner that council receives a presentation from Todd Brown and Dennis Kwan representing Monty Brown with thanks. And that council receive rec report number 12-2022. And that council adopt the leisure master plan dated June 2022 as the final document for the purposes of 1, establishing a strategic direction and blueprint for the delivery of services and programs for the municipality. 2, informing annual operating and capital budgets and the 10-year capital forecast. And 3, informing other planning related studies such as preparation of development charges background reports. And that staff be directed to prepare for the consideration of council programs and services arising from the leisure services master plan for implementation in the 1 to 3 year time period.
Thank you. All those in favor? Seeing none opposed, that's carried. And I'd like to thank you very much, Todd Brown and Dennis Kwan, for excellent presentation and work. It's much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Have a good
everyone.
evening.
Good night.
And I believe we have Erica is up next on food forest garden. Sounds enticing.
Yeah, I don't have a presentation. I'm just kind of here to talk a little bit about what a food forest is and if we could have a spot somewhere in town, one of our local parks, that we could install one of these. A food forest, also can be called forest garden, is a diverse planting of native trees, shrubs, perennials, and ground covers that work together to provide either food sources or medicine that are native to our area. Food forests, they're three-dimensional designs. They feed each other, they maintain each other, the plants all work together. They offer, sorry, I'm very nervous.
Oh, you're doing great.
This type of forest can also offer the community multiple types of learning and volunteer opportunities. We can have community groups and youth come help to maintain the forest and learn about the different plants and their uses that are in there. It provides social interaction, can teach about traditional Indigenous foods and medicines, and also provide low-cost field trip to our local schools. Yeah. It's very simple to maintain. Once established, it pretty much takes care of itself. It would need very little maintenance, maybe once or twice a year, just to make sure no invasive species are established.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Erica? Councilor Roman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through to Erica. Erica, thanks for bringing this forward. I think it's a great project. I really like it. In your opinion, do you think it makes more sense at Schmidt Park? And you talked initially maybe along behind the Fire Hall Hill there, right? That area, and so well people live. How do you envision people interacting with this? Are we going to provide some sort of education for this, or is it just going to be something they learn about on their own? What's your thinking?
So if it's a community group that helps maintain it, anyone can volunteer. We can put up information signs of plants or at the entrance and have a park trail that can go through it so we can access all the plants. We can add benches in the future if that's what people would like to do, that they can have a place to sit and relax and enjoy the fruits and berries that are growing in the wild around them. Gives children an opportunity to see where their food is coming from. I know we're surrounded by farms, but it's always fun to go and, you know, pick an apple or search for strawberries or discover other plants that you know are safe, or it's in a safe environment for the kids to do so.
Thank you. Councilor Roman, I'm new to this.
Oh, I figure how to use it. Thank you. So just follow up. my son is in Quebec City, and in Quebec City along the Charles River, they put this in place. And all kinds of people now go along the riverbanks and they harvest, various apples, berries, make jams. A lot of people are now selling at the farmers market. So I mean, it's a great project. And I think the community would embrace it. Something to be quite interesting.
Councillor Austin.
There we go. Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's a few questions. Number one, do you have a core of individuals that will ensure that this project will be taken care of until you can find groups that are willing to come in and help take care of it?
I do have a couple of people that have committed to helping, as well as I've been in contact with the Indigenous studies teacher at Southwood, and they have a group of students that would like to commit to help maintain the school forest as well. They're working on a similar project out Southwood, and they think this is a great volunteer opportunity and learning opportunity for their kids as well.
So to follow up to that question, when you plant this forest, who is going to continuously water and maintain and take care of it until those other groups? Because, if the students come from Southwood, they're not going to be here every day to water the garden. So is somebody overseeing, are you going to ensure that you oversee to make sure that things don't die if people don't get out there 3-4 days down the road?
Yeah, so the idea is, once it's established, it will not need any watering. It will just be for the first year. It'll have to be checked on to make sure that the trees and the plants will get sufficient water.
And you have that covered?
Yes.
Okay. And the other thing for location, you obviously need to be close to a water source, correct?
Ideally, that would be easier.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And my last question was, does this in any way conflict with REAP in any way, like programs that they run and such?
Actually, it complements some of the things that REAP is proposing people do on their individual property. Through Erica's program and in discussions with staff, what we're trying to do is, first of all, provide an opportunity for people that may or may not have property where they can grow food garden, but it's also an education component.
Yes.
And, hopefully there are lessons learned, experiences transfer that they can then take back perhaps to their local, sort of back to their individual property if applicable, or it might be something that we can grow to other park locations elsewhere across the township based on the success of the initial launch.
Yes, I love the idea of it, that the little wee kids are going to be able to, in a safe, kind of not an overwhelming area, but an area where they can maximize their education and that. So yeah, good idea.
Thank you, Erica. I'm so proud of you for doing this and bringing this forward. What a great job. Really, I'm really quite proud that it's happening here, and I hope it'll grow. I think it's really a worthwhile endeavor. I think it's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much for letting me speak and putting up with my nervousness.
Great.
Can I have the motion, please?
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Rowland, the council receives a presentation from Erica Brombacher with thanks, and the council received rec report number 14-2022, and that the purchase of the initial plantings and site preparation of $2,300 and an annual maintenance fee estimated to be $100 per year be adopted by council, and that the treasurer be authorized to fund the initial cost attributed to purchase of plantings and site preparation in 2022 in the amount of $500 funded from the park trust account, with the balance of $1,800 to be included in the 2023 capital budget. And the council directs staff to work with Erica Brombacher on implementation of purchasing and installing the food forest garden.
All those in favor? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Now we're going back to 8.3 through to, is it 8.8? What? 8.13? Yes. 8.13. So, Councilor McCreary, you have this motion. You do not have to read it in its entirety. Oh, I apologize, Councilor Bowman, which ones would you like to pull?
I'd like to look at 8.6, 8.8, 8.9, 8.13.
8.8, 8.9. Okay, we will take 8.6 first, please.
Mayor, I have my hand up as well.
My apologies, Councilor Austin.
I have a quick question, sorry. I have a quick question on 8.7 and 8.10.
We will start with 8.6, Centennial request to sell alcohol at the homesteads. Councilor Bowman.
Madam Mayor, question I have, I guess, is for, Karen Winter, through Madam Mayor to Karen Winter. With regards to selling alcohol at the NDCC, does it make sense to have all the alcohol located in one small portion of the stadium area? My question, I guess, is because everyone's congregated in one area and they're all drinking, would that perhaps lead to rowdiness as opposed to if people were spread out throughout the entire bowl, then we wouldn't have everybody in one area. I'm just thinking it would make more sense if we just had alcohol sort of throughout the entire stadium as opposed to just in one small area. But perhaps I don't understand liquor law that well, but it would just seem to me that it would be less of a recipe for some sort of hooliganism or whatever might occur.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councilor Roman, as much as I agree with you with our municipal alcohol policy and all the guidelines that have to go with it, it's a lot easier for them to keep it in that one section because they have to make sure that underage people don't go into that area. And so with all the volunteers that they need, I think they also feel that it's better to keep it contained in that one location.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So Ms. Winter, then just curious, how do the larger facilities, that have junior B teams, how do they run their alcohol policy? Like say the Kitchen Auditorium or something like that, because I know they offer alcohol throughout the whole. Is that because they have more volunteers? Is that what it is, or is there a different policy in place for larger facilities?
Without knowing how they actually run it, and I don't know if Andrew has any, I'll turn it over to CO.
So Madam Mayor, through Councilor Roman, the audit is only different level of service. So the combination both of community volunteers that they have in there as well as paid usher staff. So they have like the kind of oversight across their entire facility, both in the common areas as well as in the ceiling. Our municipal alcohol policy requires a certain number of individuals to provide oversight within the area as defined. So obviously, as Ms. Winter has indicated, we spread them around the whole, then they potentially need more volunteers to oversee and provide oversight. And what was in place this year worked well for them. They were able to have enough staff to provide that support. I don't know whether or not they would have the ability to staff a larger program.
If I may, we had major tickets, and in the odd, you're only allowed to drink in two areas. One is the seating and food area up at the top at the far end of the odd, and the other is actually in the bar as you're coming in on the west side. So no, you're not allowed to drink anywhere in the odd, unless it's changed in the last couple of years. Councilor Roman.
So I guess my only concern, I guess, would be is this area large enough? I'm just concerned about having a small area with a lot of people drinking. Because I own a restaurant, I understand how people behave when they drink a lot. So I'm just wondering, is there any thought to create a slightly larger area? Is there any way that we can spread it out a little bit more, or are we totally defined by the dimensions of that space?
So yes, we can expand it. We can work with the Air Centennials to see if that's their wishes. As to date, they've had no problems dealing with all the people that live in their section. So they themselves have not indicated they wish to expand. So we can work with them if we feel that's necessary.
Yeah, I attended several games where it was open and it wasn't crowded. It wasn't overly crowded. It was well done and very manageable. But I don't know what it would be like if we ran into the playoffs, which we're going to do. Council Osmond, you wanted to talk on 8.7, the compressor replacement for the North Dumfries Health Fund?
Yes, I just had a quick question on it. And I was just thinking about when I was reading the report. Is there any possibility, the chance that this unit suffered a power surge from the hydro going in and out?
Through Madam Mayor to Councillor Osner, yes, we did suffer when the power outage was, but we did get it addressed. But the compressor itself, it's just aged out now through a number of hours.
Okay, so that had the compressor itself, the issue of the replacement has nothing to do with the power.
No, it doesn't.
Because I know that I've had experience in the past of equipment going down when such things happen. And Hydro actually has an insurance program that covers these sort of things. So that's not what we're under right now, right?
It's the actual variance.
Gotcha. Okay, that's the only question I have.
Thank you. And Councillor Overman on 8.8, the batting cage rehabilitation.
Madam Mayor, my question is through you to Chairman Chair. It seems to me at the time, a few years ago before COVID, the Minor Ball Association was going to put a fence across the back and also the batting cage. So what is the status of that fence then?
So we got some new prices for both the fence and the batting cage, and it came in substantially higher than what Air Minor Ball has in their funding. So we asked them to prioritize which project they would like to go with, and they chose the batting cage. So to do the outfield is an additional $25,000. So again, they just asked to do the batting cage at this time.
8.9, the request for tender award for the hybrid truck, pickup truck and hybrid sports utility. Councilor Rowland.
Madam Mayor, the question is through you to Ms. Robinson. I'm just curious about our procurement bylaw. I know that in the past, Councilor Osmer, I've been concerned about some of the results from some of the tenders that come in. And now we find ourselves in a situation where we have to go to this new, different way of bidding. So I'm just wondering, is there any thought about bringing back the procurement bylaw and reviewing it and changing it?
I assume that would go through CO McNally.
So Madam Mayor, through to Councillor Rowland, the concern isn't with the present framing of the procurement bylaw. It's just the ability to get deliveries of vehicles, given the supply management related issues and pressures that we're having. What we're asking for is permission to deviate, allowing us to negotiate with vendors with an allowance not to exceed what's in the approved council budget for 2022 for the fleet. The second component is to allow us to move away if the situation warrants to either go gently used rather than brand new, and or if we're not able to get hybrid, to allow us to get a traditional gas turbine motor. We had, as part of the 22 campaign, consistent with the Transform WR initiative, tried to identify opportunities where we could reduce our overall GHG emissions, and our fleet, our small vehicle fleet, was part of that mix. We're finding that for the pickup trucks, that's going to be very problematic, and we're looking at approximately a year delivery time. On the SUV, we believe we would be able to get an SUV that is hybrid, albeit it probably be from a dealership at distance.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So just to follow up, then I guess the question I have is, how do we then follow the general principles of the procurement bylaw at the same time that we're going to be single sourcing? is there a concern, and this is a concern, I guess that's why we put the bylaw in place in the first place. Is there a concern of any sort of favoritism given to a dealership? If I have a friend that owns a dealership that can get us a deal on a pickup truck, are we gonna head down that path? That's what I want to be aware of.
We've identified that we will be getting multiple quotes from a range of dealerships to secure one or more of the vehicles. So there will be a competitive lens to ensure that we're getting value for money. And we also have the overall budget spend as established by council. And we would not be allowed to go above that budget spend as set out in the 22 capital budget. Certainly, I have no concerns. We're successful in going through this process, providing a follow-up report to council, identifying, what we were able to secure, how we were able to secure it. But it would be a rear view mirror. This is what we did. This is the result. We acted upon it, and here's the process we followed in terms of competitive bids and why one vendor is selected over another. That would provide assistance to council.
Christina.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was just going to add that as part of our procurement bylaw, I will be bringing a report to council on items that were not approved by council. I've been supposed to do that quarterly, but to date, there has only been one item, so I was combining quarters 1 and 2 together. So that will be brought forward to the July meeting so that you will see the results.
Thank you. Seeing no further questions on 8.10, oversized load permit, Councillor Austin.
Two general questions on this. Do we receive any portion of the permit fees from the region for this? And what are the permit fees? Are they substantial, or are we talking like a couple $100 or?
Through the mayor, to Councillor Ostner, the region currently does the process. It's a manual process. We do not receive any recovery from the region that are paid, although staff time is invested. Signing this agreement will allow the process to be automated. Fees will be continued to be paid to the region, but there will be a significant reduction in the amount of staff time. So we will actually see some cost savings in respect to that staff time associated with it.
So if we don't receive any fee, any portion of the fee at all, and it's costing us staff time, no matter how little or big staff time is, why are we not riding on the coattail of charging for that? Like, why do we have to cover the costs for the region for their permit agreement, and we don't receive any fees for that to cover our costs?
Mayor, to Councillor Ostner, currently the program is completely run through the region. I can't speak to the historical reasons for. I don't have that information. I do understand that there was much distress. Most of the things moving through the region go through a variety of municipalities throughout the region, and the people who were moving the materials through the region were really struggling because they were going from, say, a township road to a regional road, back onto a township road, onto another regional road, and then into maybe one of the cities, into one of their roads, and then yet again into another city, and then perhaps into another township. And the industry was complaining about the significant difficulties that they were having maintaining these, coordinating these, etc. So the decision was made that the region would coordinate them on behalf of all of them. The applicant could have a single process that they could go through. They applied once, move anywhere through the region of Waterloo. This permit went through the region, and that was the agreement that occurred at the time. The region has decided to automate it. It reduces the costs to the applicant as well as staff time involved from all sides. So it's being done as a cost savings measure for the industry.
So what is the purpose of this fee?
In this particular, with the new system, it's an automated system. So there's a subscription that they pay for the automated system. And that's what the fees are going to cover is the cost of the automated system.
What I mean then, if they're moving across so many roads now, why even have a fee? Why not just let them move the loads without a fee? Like, I mean, why would the region charge a fee to have them move across from township to township?
The fee was designed to compensate the municipality for the staff time involved in processing it. Under the Highway Traffic Act, oversized loads are not permitted to use the road without a permit in place. So under the Highway Traffic Act, they're required to issue permits so that they are able to move these loads through the region. And as such, a fee was established to basically recover the staff time involved in that process.
They would also have to meet certain criteria in moving it, and it would be the responsibility of the person that is given the permission to do so. So they must ensure the safety of the load, the markings, the flashing vehicles that drive behind the load to make sure that it's warning vehicles. So, and they take on the liability of that as well. So the region takes on the liability for giving permits to allow them to do it, so they must ensure the safety of them.
And so then my last question is, Waterloo Regional Police don't receive any fee besides if they have to do road shutdowns temporary to move this. I know when they had a large load moving from Hamilton northward, that they had to have regional police at various stages all the way through. Is that that's a separate fee? That's got nothing to do with this fee.
Just like if they have to temporarily lift or relocate hydro to the aerial hydro services, that's an additional cost on the limited times when that might occur.
Okay, thank you.
Item number 8.13, request for direct procurement pavement markings 2022, Council Rowland.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think the question I have is already answered with 8.9.
Thank you. Then, if that's it, can I have a motion, please? Not in its entirety.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Gillespie, that the Committee of the Whole recommend the following items be approved as presented as outlined in the staff reports listed in the Community Services Function Area. 8.3, report number Rec 13-2022, request for proposal award Schmidt Park Playground. 8.4, report number Rec 15-2022, Fireworks Bylaw exemption request for Clyde Park Canada Day special event. 8.5, report number Rec 16-2022, Trust Fund Friends of the Air Library. 8.6, report number Rec 17-2022, Air Centennials request to sell alcohol at home games. 8.7, report number Rec 18-2022, compressor replacement for the North Dumfries Community Complex. 8.8, report number Rec 19-2022, batting cage rehabilitation Victoria Park. 8.9, report number PW3-2022, request for tender award, 2 half-ton hybrid pickup trucks and 1 hybrid sports utility vehicle tender. 8.10, report number PW4-2022, oversized load permit agreement. 8.11, report number PW5-2022, request for tender award, Greenfield Road drainage improvements tender. 8.12, report number PW6-2022, reorder 2024 purchase of tandem axle truck. And 8.13, report number PW7-2022, request for direct procurement payment marking 2022.
Thank you. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Next up, we have the Governance and Protective Services Function Area. Would anyone on council wish to ask questions of one of these items? Seeing no one, can I have a motion, please? Oh, except for 9.6 will be pulled. Is he on the phone? Do you want to speak on that now?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In August, Association of Municipalities of Ontario, AMO, will be holding their annual convention for the first time in 2+ years. The convention goes back to in person. It's in Ottawa. Madam Mayor and Council Bowman are presently registered to attend the AMO conference. The township, so the 4 townships have identified requests for delegations on a joint basis. Those 5 delegations are identified in the staff report. I've already made a filing on behalf of the 4 townships to province for those 5 delegations. Obviously, we await whether or not we've been successful with one or more of the ministries. This report is asking members of council, are there items that council wishes mayor to present at the conference on behalf of the township? Staff have identified 6 or 7 potential areas for discussion. Some of these you have spoken to at earlier, either Roma or AMO conferences. Others have been items that have been discussed by members of council in earlier meetings. And this would provide an opportunity to speak to a new government, potentially a new minister, although it may be the same topic of discussion. Staff is seeking direction from council. If there's any specific items that council as a whole wish to have presented at the upcoming AMO conference.
Councillor Rossman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to bring forth, if it's not already on the list, if the townships could have a larger decision in the process of development for their local communities, rather than the water falling down on us. Like when the region, for example, when Kevin presented the region's projections of how large they want us to grow, and up 60 people per hectare, whatever. I was left with the feeling that we have no choice but to do what the region tells us to do. I'm just wondering, when it comes to the townships and it comes to our smaller communities, if we choose not to, and if the people in this community choose not to grow at the rates that the cities are growing, which is the reason they moved out to the country, to the smaller towns, to the areas, can we have a larger say in it? Because I feel like we can say what we want, but ultimately doesn't matter. So I'm just wondering if council feels the same way or not.
See, do you want to tackle that? Now, I believe the rates are set by the provinces and not downloaded then to the region, and then the region has to fill out how they're going to make it work.
So that's the current process. I think what Councilor Oster is asking is through a delegation to the minister, in this case, to the Minister of Local Affairs and Housing, is there an alternative to the current framework as established either in the provincial policy statement or growth plan to allow area municipalities the ability to shape how they wish to grow, whether it be density or rate of growth or overall population modeling, and then it would be a local decision, consultation with community members. I think I can interpret that.
Yeah, you pretty much got it. I'm afraid that it's going to get to the point where our nice small towns and communities are going to have lined with apartment buildings because the region wants X amount of people per square hectare. And the only way to do it with the amount of land that we have is to start putting multiplexes up. And I'm not so sure that the majority of the people in this community want to see multiplexes everywhere. I don't.
So I think the delegation request is for the minister to consider an alternative model to what's established in the current provincial policy statement and the growth plan for the greater Golden Horse Shore.
And also, piggybacking on that, if I may, Councillor Austin, is that the uniqueness of North Dudley's, it's not because of our aggregate industry and that, it's not similar to most of the other townships or the cities. And so I think we have to be recognized for our uniqueness. And if they don't want to recognize our uniqueness, then they can't have our aggregate. Did I say that out loud?
And if I can just piggyback on the piggyback. You know, when you look at people in the city, you talk to people in the city and you see how they come out to these smaller communities. It's almost like a breath of fresh air for them. They're getting away for a while, they're getting out into the country and they love our quaint town, not just our quaint town. They like Baden, although Baden's getting larger again, you know, New Hamburg, St. Clemens, St. Petersburg, all those areas. And it's like we're the deer and the coyotes. We're getting pushed away from our territory. And I think that we need to push back and try and maintain our farmlands, try and maintain our quaint town, and just, we're going to grow. And I think everybody understands that we just can't grow so fast. Every time you turn around, there are things coming up, there are applications, there are multiplexes, and it's only going to get worse with the new parameters that are being set on us.
Thank you. So we will add that to the, and Councillor Gillespie, you had your hand up?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I would again like to go with the expansion of photo radar. And I just wondered if they could add in a noise bylaw for loud cars and motorcycles, as I live right next to the speedway. It is really concerning. So I wonder if that can go in with photo radar. No, that's the same thing. And I was also wondering about the expansion of natural gas.
Cynthia is writing away so she can add them to the motions. So, no one has any problems with 9.1 to 9.5? So can I have that motion, please?
Yes, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Rowland, that the committee of the whole recommend the following items to be approved as presented as outlined in the staff reports listed in the Governance and Protective Services function area. 9.1, report number CLK 18/2022. Proposed amendments to the 2022 council meeting schedule. 9.2, report number CLK 19/2022. Noise bylaw exemption request for backyard reception located at 24 Hilltop Drive Air. 9.3, report number CLK 20/2022. Noise bylaw exemption request improbable Valentine TV series filming at 3089 Greenfield Road Air. 9.4, report number CLK 21/2022, temporary no parking for Canada Day event at Schmidt Park. 9.5, report number FD 07/2022, Fire Department Incident Response Summary, May 2022.
So 9.1 to 9.5, can I please have all those in favor? Okay, and 9.6, do you have a revision for that, Ms.? Can we pass 9.6 as amended and assume that you okay? So we will do 9.6 separately and we will state as amended, and staff understand that amendment. So can I have a motion for the 9.6, please, Ms. Gillespie?
9.6, report number CAO 23/2022 as amended.
Yes.
And just for clarity, that's to add the 3 extra items that we just talked about.
Correct. All those in favor? Thank you.
7 o'clock.
Our timing was absolutely perfect. So. Can I please have the motion to move into, can we have all to move into, oh, that's continuing. Where's the motion to go into, adjourn, Council Roman?
Moving myself, and by Councillor Ossner, that any of the whole is hereby adjourned and the council meeting is called back to order.
Isn't it the one where we're going, the council meeting be adjourned at 7 p.m. to sit as committee of the adjustment, correct? So this is it.
I think first we have to adjourn the whole.
Okay, all right, correct. So,
Then we have to-
okay. All those in favor of adjourning committee of the whole? It's passed, and now the next one, please, Councilor Roman.
Moved myself, and by Councillor Ossner, that the council meeting be adjourned at 7 p.m. to sit as committee of adjustment for the purpose of holding public meetings pursuant to the provisions of the plan.
All those in favor? Carrie, thank you. I believe committee adjustments, we are going into 10.1, report number 23-2022, minor variance application for 246 Piper Street. Notice has been given to those who requested it. The secretary treasurer will record everyone who has commented on the application, attended and or have registered with the clerk's division to attend the meeting this evening. These individuals will be notified of the decision or the convening of future meeting. Christina Blazanovic, planner GIS technician, who will be presenting this evening. Welcome, Christina.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening, Madam Mayor, councilors, and administration. This evening, I will be presenting the recommendation report regarding minor variance application 3-04/22 for 246 Piper Street. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to advance a recommendation for the committee's consideration on the merits of this application. The property is located on Piper Street, west of Rose Street. The property is 0.81 acres in size with a lot frontage of 30 meters onto Piper Street. There is currently a two-story detached dwelling and a shed on the property. The property is serviced by municipal water and sewer, and the property is listed on the Municipal Heritage Registry. The criteria when reviewing minor variance applications set out by Section 45 of the Planning Act include the following 4 tests. If the variance is minor, if the variance is desirable, if the variance is in keeping with the intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw, and if the variance is in keeping with the intent and purpose of the official plan. The subject property is within the built-up area on map 3E of the regional official plan. The property is designated in residential and ancillary on map 2.1 of the township official plan, and the property is zone Z5 urban residential in the general zoning bylaw, and zone 5 permits accessory buildings. The purpose of the minor variance application is to construct an accessory building, a garage, with the recreational space on the second story within the front yard of the subject property. The proposed garage will have a width of 9.1 meters or 30 feet and a depth of 7.3 meters or 24 feet, and will have a setback of 3.96 meters or 13 feet from the side lot line to the west. This application is a return of a prior minor variance application A-10/21 that was approved on November 23rd, 2021. There is one variance from the previous application that requires a correction. The previous application permitted the accessory garage to be located within the front yard with a front yard setback of 23.98 meters from the front lot line. After the application had been approved, it was determined that the measurement of 23.98 meters was taken from the curb along Piper Street and not from the front lot line. The correct front yard setback to the accessory building as determined by a survey is 20.42 meters. The purpose of the minor variance is to seek a correction from the original minor variance setback of 23.98 meters to 20.42 meters from the front lot line. The building footprint will not move from the previously approved location previously approved in November, and the garage will not move any closer to the front property line or the side lot line there to the west. The variance being requested is to permit an accessory building within the front yard, as section 6.4.8 does not permit any part of an accessory building to be closer to the street line than the principal dwelling. As shown on the survey, the proposed garage will be located 20.42 meters from the front property line. This photo was taken from Piper Street. The proposed garage will be located to the left of the principal dwelling. This is a 3D view of the proposed garage. And this is another 3D view of the proposed garage with the floor plan of the main level on the right side. Comments were received from the adjacent property owner on Friday, June 10th. There were a few concerns raised regarding new measurements in the side yard setback from the western wall of the proposed garage. This application is not proposing any changes to the location of the footprint of the accessory building. The location that was approved by the Committee of Adjustment on November 23rd, 2021 remains unchanged. The proposed garage will not move any closer to the front lot line or side lot line. As previously mentioned, during the time of the original application, the front yard setback was measured from the curb along Piper Street and not from the front property line. There have been no comments or concerns from agencies. The GRCA did note that a minor fee of $90 will be required to amend the permit that was issued. The comments provided from the Heritage Advisory Committee are those during the fall of 2021 from the original minor variance application A-10/21. These comments included the proposed location is acceptable if there are no other appropriate locations, that the neighborhood character is to be maintained, that the design is to be consistent with the principal dwelling, and to incorporate landscaping around the accessory building. Staff did circulate the revised minor variance application to each member of the advisory committee. There were no further issues or concerns that were identified from what was previously reported. Planning staff were of the opinion that the requested variance meets the 4 tests of a minor variance as outlined by the Planning Act. The first test being that the proposed variance conforms with the general intent of the zoning bylaw. In this case, the subject property is zone Z5 urban residential and accessory buildings are permitted use in the zone. Does the proposed variance conform with the general intent of the official plan? Residential uses and accessory buildings are permitted uses within the built-up area and the urban residential and ancillary designations. Is the proposed variance desirable? A garage that is desirable for this property is currently there is no existing garage. The accessory building is a permitted use on this property, and the proposed location of the front yard is desirable as the main entrances to the principal dwelling are located at the front of the home. Placing the garage in the rear yard would make access to the principal dwelling inconvenient. Is the variance minor? Despite the large size of the property, it's not practical to locate the accessory building in the rear yard as mentioned. The proposed location is still set at a considerable distance from the street line and can be screened by the planting of trees or shrubs. Alternate locations for the accessory building were examined during the site visit in the fall of 2021. As you can see in the photo on the left, the western portion of the property labeled A is heavily treed and landscaped, which is not a realistic or desirable location. The eastern portion of the property labeled B contains a large tree, and the extension of a driveway would heavily disrupt the root system. As previously mentioned, the main entrances to the principal dwelling are located at the front, so placing the garage in the rear would make access to the dwelling unit inconvenient for the homeowners. The tree in question is shown in the photo on the right. The owner provided an opinion letter from an arborist on the condition of the tree. The arborist stated that the tree is in good condition and has an estimated age of approximately 80 years. This particular tree has a life expectancy of approximately 140 years. Based on the planning analysis, staff recommend that minor variance A-04/22 for 246 Piper Street be approved with the condition that the accessory building shall be set back from the front lot line by a minimum distance of 20.42 meters. Thank you.
Would the applicant like to make any statements?
Yes, thank you. Thank you to everyone for seeing us once again. I just wanted to clarify further to the presentation, which was very thorough, thank you, that we're looking to build the garage in the same spot as it was previously approved. We're really just clarifying the dimension that we had previously used from the curb. Now we're using that dimension from the property line. So the location is the same. In regard to the neighbor concerns in regard to their window, specifically in their kitchen, we did want to make sure when we originally located the garage that we weren't blocking the main window of their side of their home, which I believe is an office or a den. So we did want to be sympathetic to that main window that offers them some light. And again, in the garage not moving, we still have addressed that, hopefully to everyone's satisfaction. Thank you.
Thank you. Brad and Andrea Sales, they are registered to speak. Oh, okay, so they're not here. Any questions from the committee? Councilor Bowman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a number of concerns with this report and some factual errors that I believe were made. To state that the garage would be located in the same spot as originally proposed. When I went today and met with the property owner, looked at the stakes that have been planted for the proposed garage, it doesn't appear that's in the same spot. Either in order to facilitate a 30-foot wide garage, they would have to move the garage approximately, I guess, 10 feet forward, which would basically damage the root system of a large spruce tree or a pine tree on the front lawn, or they would have to push the garage closer to the house and basically be, I can't remember the exact measurement, CEO might remember, fairly close to the front porch, which would then block the heritage vista of the property, which is a concern of the heritage community. So that's one of the concerns. And there's also a number of stakes out there, which it's really difficult to figure out exactly how wide the garage is supposed to be and where it can be sitting. So I have concerns over the statement that's going to be in the same spot. That's my first question. The second concern I have is regards to Heritage Advisory Committee. The committee was circulated this change with the information that nothing was changing. Only one member of the committee did contact me, that was Mr. Ruhlman, who is an architect. And he pointed out that in fact the garage is not in the same spot, so he raised a concern about the new location. He recommended the garage go behind the house. And the third thing is about trees. We talked about preserving the large tree, which is on the, I guess it's the east side of the property. And the 11th arborist saying that this tree is 8 years old, will live to 120 years old. The tree appears to be in fairly bad shape. I know it was hit by lightning a few years ago. Doesn't look like it's doing that well. But the irony is that if we save this tree but move the garage closer to the road in front of the property, we'll lose the giant pine tree. So do we save the pine tree and take down the maple tree and perhaps build the garage behind the property, or are we going to try and save this maple tree and then lose the pine tree? I'm just kind of concerned about the whole tree statement as well. So those are three concerns I have with the report.
Anyone like to, Councilor CEO McNeely?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In terms of the placement of the stakes, there are a series of stakes along the north-south axes that are listed in the or present on the property, and they've got the exact same penned notes on the stake. So it was difficult when we were out there this afternoon to figure out which was the south elevation or the south wall of the proposed garage. And to Councillor Wallman's point, depending upon which stake we would have used, we were either roughly within 10 meters of the mature spruce tree that's in the front yard, or we were roughly 6 to 7 meters removed from the spruce tree, which would have provided adequate spatial separation. We would have been outside the drip line, and it would have placed us generally in line with the windows of the kitchen on the adjacent property to the west. going back to the fall, that's where we had understood, generally speaking, the south wall of the garage to be placed. But as I said, depending upon which state you used, there was different potential placements. And as I said, we looked at the references on the states, and each state had the exact same piece of information. So we were not able to confirm, based on the surveyor, there were pins as to where the building actually being positioned as a distance from the Piper Street road allowance. But of equal importance, how far was to be removed from the heritage principal dwelling itself. Because once again, generally speaking, we were supposed to be roughly 10.2 meters, roughly 32 feet or so, from the screened porch structure. That would have allowed spatial separation from the two-story brick dwelling. And upon which state we looked at, we were literally somewhere between 8 and 10 feet offset from the front porch. It changes the dynamics, and as we said, there are so many stakes there that it's not clear which stakes are applicable to the footprint of the detached structure.
So based on what I've heard from Councilor Rowland and yourself, I would think that we would need a deferral of this item until we get clarification. So councilors, I will call the vote and ask whether you're for, against, or defer. First, Councilor Osner, and then Emily would like to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I can't lower my hand. So, oh, there it goes. So my recollection from the last meeting and the concerns of the sales, the house to the west, was that the wall is not blocking the sunlight to their kitchen window. And it was decided that I'm gonna say, is it the northern portion of the wall that blocks towards the window was not covering the sunlight coming to that window. That was their concern. Am I correct?
So my recollection is there's two banks of windows. There's what we call the addition, where I believe there's an office on the main floor, and it's made up of 2 or 3 box windows. That was my understanding, that they did not want that obscured by the position of the detached building because it would interfere with the premises natural light. Then there's a smaller window, approximately in the midpoint of the depth of their residence. That's a much smaller window. They weren't as concerned about that. That, if we go by one set of stakes, would be generally aligned with what I had understood to be from the fall of 2021. The other concern that the sales had was that the building is set back no less than 13 feet from the common lot line. And that aspect, based on the positioning of the stakes, has been confirmed. It definitely is on the plus side of 13 feet separation from the common lot line. The surveyor has delineated common lot line. To my recollection, those were the 2 fundamental concerns that were raised by sales in the fall, and I believe to this day remain valid.
So maybe Emily can clarify what's the necessity of so many stakes? Can we not have stakes that show, because even our building inspector, when the inspector comes in at certain points, does that inspector not need to know where these lines are?
And that's why the discrepancy of the decision from the fall came about. Because at the building permit stage, and that's effectively where we were based on the November decision of the Committee of Adjustment. Building asked for a surveyor to plot out the building and to make sure that all the reference measurements were achieved. And that's where it was revealed that the original setback for Piper Street was taken from back a curve rather than at the edge of the road allowance. So, generally speaking, we were looking at a boulevard that had been accounted for in the original calculation of approximately 3.38 meters. So notionally, what we were doing is just subtracting 3.3 meters off of the original November decision. Building should be in the same spot. Because it's at the stakes, I'm sort of confused where the building is because there's conflicting information depending upon which stake I look at.
Council Bowman.
Madam Mayor, I guess the question I have through the CAO would be, if the community adjustment made this decision in November, I think it was November 2021, based on figures that are now proven not to be correct, is there a way for us to overturn or repeal that earlier decision and then now approach this from a new perspective as opposed to just making a minor change to something that is not being correct? Because what I'm concerned about is that as it stands, we've already approved this project, so hypothetically, they could go ahead and build this garage and either impact that large pine tree, or they push it back and basically be very close to the heritage home. So I'm wondering if we made a decision in good faith that turns out that the evidence, the information was incorrect, what mechanisms do we have to overturn that decision?
So if we were to measure from the road allowance of Piper Street and measure northerly, notionally, if we kept the original setback 23 meters, slightly larger than that, but roughly 23 meters, notionally it'd be pushing the building 3 meters closer to the brick residence. So it notionally would be farther away than from the spruce tree. Okay. So the committee today has a series of options. Option one, the committee can defer a decision, ask staff to meet on site with Emily and the owners to just better understand all the stakes that are on the property and confirm, for lack of a better term, the footprint of the building and where it's positioned, not only in the context of the setback from the existing residence, Spruce Street, and how it sort of aligns with the windows along the east elevation of the Sale residence. The other option available to council would be to adopt the recommendation as published in the report. Option three would be the committee has the ability to establish through the decision an alternative to what is put forward. Any decision other than the deferral is subject to appeal by anyone who has participated in the process. And if they're not comfortable with the decision, have the ability to refer the matter to the Ontario Land Tribunal for hearing. So if the committee is confused about where exactly is the building vis-a-vis positioning of windows on the Sale property and potential blocking of natural sunlight infiltrating the interior of their home, and or its relationship to the existing two-story residence, then an option to committee would be to defer, and it would reappear at the next committee hearing, which is on the 28th of July, 28th of June, 28th of June, 2 weeks roughly from today. And staff will bring back that report, clarifying exactly where the building is in the context of the various states that are present on the property.
Councilwoman, are you done?
Okay.
Thank you. I'm also concerned about the tree. Does the tree look like it's died?
So the tree on the east.
The reason that we couldn't put it in the backyard was because of the tree.
So I'll be honest with you, I did not look at the tree today. Certainly in the fall of 2021, when we brought the original application forward, there had been a significant investment made in that tree by the owners. They had actually then had a professional arborist in it. The tree actually had cabling hold some of the larger limbs in a good form. And certainly in the fall, it appeared to have good shape and good canopy cover. And they did have an arborist provide a written opinion. We have not had that updated in the context of the state.
And Councillor Bowman, what did you see when you saw the tree?
Tree looked very sparse today when I saw it. There's large portions of it appeared to be dead. So I'm just concerned that if we're going to sacrifice, which tree we're going to sacrifice, the one up front, which appears very healthy, or the one in the back that appears that it's not doing very well.
Because the reason we didn't go with the back was because of that tree, and if they put a lot of stuff into it, I'm sorry, but we need to know. Because if that tree is not as healthy as, maybe the storm hit it, I don't know, then are we going back to the backyard? So I think, Councillor, I'm leaving it up to you. I'm going to allow Emily to speak.
I just wanted to clarify the stakes, if I may. We had, when we originally wanted to begin excavation for the garage in the fall upon permit approval, we had put stakes in the ground locating where it would be according to the property line rather than the curb. And in that case, it was about 12 feet, thereabout, closer to the main structure that is the house. And so we looked at that and said, this is far too close. We're not comfortable with this decision. We don't want to take away the view of the front of the home. We don't want to compromise any of the comments that Heritage made, where we were trying to kind of keep the home visible. So one of the sets of stakes is where the building had been approved if we had decided to go ahead with the original committee decision. But the reason we've come back is we didn't want to build that close. Aesthetically, functionally, we didn't feel it would look right. So then there's another set of stakes that is showing the building where we want it with that 10.21 meters between the existing building and the proposed. There is also a stake. Now, we didn't know that you were coming to the site, so we certainly could have clarified this had we known. I believe, had put a stake in the ground showing what the building would look like if we basically split the difference, if you will, where if the neighbor had a concern about their kitchen window, where would the corner of the building be so as to not cover any of that window? By our rough approximation, it would be moving the garage about 5 feet closer to the building, closer to the main building. So instead of having 33'6", we might have 28 feet or thereabout, something in that region. So we put that stake to try to understand the neighbor's concern in regard to blocking that kitchen window. I believe that stake was just put in the ground recently when we knew of their concern. Certainly, we'd be happy to clarify for you what those stakes look like, label them differently, and show them to you. We would love to keep the 10.21 meters that we'd originally proposed to the council. That was what we had proposed in the fall, and that is what we hope to keep today, is the distance between the original house and the garage. If there's an opportunity to compromise to keep everyone happy and there's some negotiation in that 10.21 meters, we're certainly willing to have that discussion too.
Thank you. Grant Eckler, you wish to speak?
Good evening, everyone. And I apologize for the complication of this. As a homeowner, we're trying to follow what Heritage has suggested, what the Committee of Adjustments has approved. And we do feel strongly that the location of the garage hasn't changed. We are just changing the dimension, as Emily said, from the property line to the property line, which was originally from the curb. I would certainly welcome, I know Mr. McNeely and Councillor Rollerman were at my property later this afternoon. I didn't happen to be home. My wife was home. And there are a lot of stakes in the ground, and it is a little bit confusing. I apologize for that. I would welcome you to come to the property and we can clarify exactly where all four corners of the garage should be according to our measurements. I would do that. We can do it with a legal surveyor as well if you'd like. And I would invite the sales to come as well, so that we are all clear on where this garage location should be. We want to be respectful to the saleses as our neighbors. This concern that they had of all of a sudden splitting the garage south wall in the middle of their window just news to us as of this afternoon. So really, I want to try and simplify things if I can. I invite you to the property. We can stake out all four corners. In my opinion, the healthy spruce tree is not in danger at all because we will be set back 3 meters from those stakes. And I think it's in a good location, but I welcome you to come out to the house and we can finalize exactly where all four corners would be. Because we had permit in January, we've also purchased many things that are now we're paying storage fees for and trying to find homes for. So I would love to expedite this process, but obviously be thorough with it to make sure we can carry on or start construction. Thank you.
Well, I want to thank everybody for their cooperation. Looks like Councilor Rowland, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a question of clarification, perhaps through you to Emily. Just wondering about the size of the garage. 30 feet wide is fairly big garage. Is there any thought at all of making it narrower? I mean, 24 feet or 22 feet might actually help achieve both goals, make the house not block the windows of the property, neighboring property, but also pushing it back a little bit from the heritage house. Any thought about making the garage smaller?
Yeah, we can certainly have that discussion. The reason the garage was 30 feet was essentially to accommodate the loft to be able to have full head height for code. The design of the garage uses some shed dormers that we thought were historically quite accurate and quite pretty on the garage, such that it is so visible. Within that head height in that loft, we had a bathroom at one side. We had planned for some furniture, a TV area. Certainly we can look at shrinking the garage. It does impact our living area upstairs. So if that's the direction we should take, certainly it can be a discussion. I think I need to obviously ask Grant and Becky about their opinion on that loft, just so that we are impacting the head height.
And Grant again.
I just also wanted to mention, now I'm not a surveyor, but I have been fairly familiar with the stakes and what's going on. So I did some measuring, and the difference between where we believe the south wall should be and what the sales would like is about 4.5, maybe 5 feet. It's not a large difference. Now, once again, obviously, if the sales want it in the middle of the window, that brings it 4.5 to 5 feet closer to the home. So we'd want to make sure that's okay from a historical perspective. But I just did some quick measuring. Once again, this would be obviously finalized or confirmed easier if we were out at the home and going over it together. But I just wanted to show you that difference.
And again, as we're talking about, as was presented by Christina in the beginning, the reason we're here is the one measurement. We're not here to debate the size of the garage. We're here to debate the distance from the property line, the correct measurement from the property line to the side of the garage. So I think that's sort of a non-necessary point.
Thank you. Council, I'm going to call the motion and ask that we consider a deferral to meet again in 2 weeks as a see on the hill, to bring us back in 2 weeks, which will give us ample time to do all the necessary research. But I will call for the motion first. Can I have a motion, please, Councilor Rossi?
Moved by myself, second by Councillor McCreary, that PD report number 23-2022 be received, and that minor variance application A-0422 being a request to seek relief from the general zoning bylaws 689-83 to permit an accessory building in the front yard of the property, whereas section 648 of the general zoning bylaw requires that the accessory building must be located in the rear of the property. Be approved subject to the following: one, or I, the proposed accessory building shall be set back from the front property line at a minimum distance of 20.42 meters or 66.99 feet.
Thank you, Councillor Austin. Those in favor? Those opposed? Those wishing for a deferral? That's a referral. Thank you. Councillor Gillespie, the motion, please.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Austin that pursuant to the Planning Act, the public meeting of the Committee of Adjustment be adjourned at 7:35 p.m. and that council meeting be called back in order.
All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We now have the adoption. A recommendation as presented by the Committee of the Whole dated June 13th, 11.1. And Councillor McCreary, just to get the longest ones. You do not have to read it in its entirety.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Oster, that council adopt the recommendations as adopted and presented by Committee of the Whole dated June 13th, 2022. 1, report number rec 13/2022, request for proposal award Schmidt Park Playground. 2, report number rec 15/2022, fireworks bylaw exemption request for Clyde Park Canada Day special event. 3, rec report number 18/2022, compressor replacement for the North Dumfries Community Complex. 4, report number PW 3/2022, request for tender award to half-ton hybrid pickup trucks and 1 hybrid sports utility vehicle tender. 5, report number PW 5/2022, request for tender award Greenfield Road drainage improvements tender. 6, report number PW 7/2022, request for direct procurement pavement marking 2022. 7, report number CLK 19/2022, Noli's bylaw exemption request for a backyard reception located at 24 Hilltop Drive Air. And 8, report number CLK 21/2022, temporary new parking for Canada Day event at Schmidt Park.
Thank you. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And Councillor Roman, the bylaw, please.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Ossner, that the following bylaw be given first and second reading, bylaw number 3332-22. The bylaw to provide temporary no parking effective from 4 p.m. to 11:59 p.m. on Friday, July 1st, 2022, affecting multiple roads in the township of North Dumfries due to Canada Day fireworks.
All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Councillor McCreary, the bylaw, please, third reading.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Ossner, that the following bylaw be taken as read a third time and finally passed. Bylaw number 3332-22, being a bylaw to provide temporary no parking effective from 4 p.m. to 11:59 p.m. on Friday, July 1st, 2022, affecting multiple roads in the township of North Dumfries due to Canada Day fireworks.
All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Councillor Gillespie, the confirmatory bylaw, please.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Ossner, that bylaw number 3331-22, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of Committee of the Whole on June 13th, 2022. Be read a first, second, third time and be finally passed, signed, sealed by the mayor and clerk.
Thank you. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And now the adjournment, please.
Moved by myself and the Council Curry, that whereas business before this committee of the whole meeting has been completed at 7:39 p.m. Be resolved that the meeting adjourns and meets again on June 27th at 7 p.m. for a regular council.
All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you.